All right, Kian Brown here. This is NCCU Live. Thank you for being here. We're so grateful to have you here. It's a great day to be an Eagle. I'm going to jump right into my partner in crime, add him in. Bass, you there, buddy?
Can you hear me?
Bass, you're live. There we go.
Okay.
How you
All
doing,
right.
sir?
I'm good in yourself.
Pretty good, pretty good. What's the latest?
So today we have an amazing show. I think it's definitely dear to my heart. It's one thing that we spoke about on Motivational Mondays about 2 weeks ago about your mental health. You know, your mental health is very important. And how you do your day-to-day operations, waking up, being thankful, and being humble, and just trying to continue to always build and get better. A lot of people we fall short of mental health of just trying to be ourselves. So today's show is definitely mental health. We got we got Dr. Kia Jones Baldwin. She's gonna be joining us on the show as a special guest. Christal Carmichael as well. I know everybody's been seeing that, and of course, our one and only NCCU men's basketball coach Levelle Moton. It's going to be a great show.
Big
Um,
show, Bass.
Big
Thank you
show.
for doing that. You know,
Big
they don't
show.
people don't know the background is you that's arranging this and making this stuff happen. So thank you so much for all that you do for EAN.
I appreciate it very much.
All
Also,
right.
want to talk about real quick NCCU 110. Everybody, let's get a picture. I'm talking about you guys. Let's get a picture. Let's take it in front of a statue where we're at in the city that we're in. It can be outside in front of your house. Let's hashtag NCCU 110. We got to get 5,000 followers. I see people are joining every single day. Let's keep the momentum going. I'm so excited for the initiative that we definitely started, Kian. Definitely I am.
All right, man. Well, thank you, Bass. I'm gonna get into a couple news articles and see. We're gonna try this out for the first time. Thank you, brother. You can jump out, and we'll get back to you soon. Thank you, brother.
Cool. Peace.
All right. All right, guys. So let's go into a couple of news articles that are having NCCU in the news. We're trying some technology today. Hopefully, this will work out. Well, we have former NCCU CB Ryan Smith ready for his fifth season in the NFL with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We're excited about him. We also have, as you see, a tweet from NCCU football. We have offensive lineman Nick Leverett, also from NCCU, is also on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I heard from him the other day. We're going to get him on the show. We're excited about him as well. Congratulations to all of our Eagles in the NFL. Also, NCCU is mourning the loss of Deputy Sheriff David Bowie Jr. This is a tough one. Wow, I don't even know how to kind of describe this, but I had such amazing experiences with this brother at NCCU, and I know many people, as I'm seeing on the streams, people have had similar experiences with Brother Bowie. So our condolences to his family, and of course, all of Eagle Nation mourns today. Let's see. We got one more here. I think I got one more story. Let me get on here again. Sorry, guys. Let's see. I think that's it. Maybe that's it. Yeah, I think that's it. We've got, as Bass said, we've got Levelle Moton on today, and we're excited to talk about many things, including mental health. Let's see. Oh, here's two more. Again, we're celebrating 110 years at NCCU Truth and Service. Make sure that you follow us on Instagram, Eagles Alumni Network. And as Bass said, go ahead and take your picture and use the hashtag NCCU110. Let's go ahead and get our first guest, Dr. Jones Baldwin. Kia, let's bring her in. Dr. Kia, how are you? I can't hear you. Hold on. You might be muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
How are you?
Dr. Kia, I'm well. Come on. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for asking.
Now, Dr. Kia is an incredible mental health professional, number one, but also we wanted to definitely talk about some things that you were featured in Good Morning America for your advocacy for adoption and some of your personal stories about adoption in your own family. Let's start with mental health. What do you do, and how is it relevant to the Black community? I want to bring that in.
Okay, so I am a licensed mental health counselor and life coach, life and wellness coach, and I primarily work with trauma informed and making sure that people understand that trauma is very real. Healing is very real, and the process looks different for everyone. So, trying to encourage, especially the Black and Brown community, that most of the time rely heavily on what Mama said or religion. And, you can have therapists and Jesus, okay? I just want to note
Yes,
that.
that's a new
And so,
hashtag: therapy and Jesus.
okay. And definitely representation matters for Black and brown girls to see women of color that are successful from HBCUs, and they are doctors and psychologists, and say, hey, I can do that too. And so I try to make sure that I play that role as well for the next young woman that's coming up after me.
Yes. Now let's talk about this story. Now I'll go as best I can. You will correct and you will support us with this story. But you get a call from an adoption agency saying that a child needs some care, and they need someone to kind of do skin to skin in the NICU. You go and you're like, absolutely. You get there and it's a little white baby, beautiful
Yeah.
white baby. And then what happens then?
Okay, yeah. So we were foster parents. Me and my husband are foster parents, and we did get a call. And I get to the hospital, and I'm looking around the hospital because we've had placements before, but they were Black children, and so I didn't really think anything different, being naive or just ignorant to the fact. And the nurse just kindly pointed me over to the white baby in the crib, and I was like, "This little white baby, okay." And I picked him up, and we did skin to skin, and we've had a bond ever since. And that was 3 years ago. He's 3 years old now.
Wow. Can you
Yeah.
talk about that experience? And I actually read the article. Dr. Kia was featured in Good Morning America, and it was an amazing article. And you spoke about racism and hatred that you actually receive sometimes when you are out with your family, which is full
Yeah.
of colors. Can you talk about that?
Yes, it's unfortunate because people are so used to seeing Caucasian families with Black and brown children, and it's really never a question. They just automatically assume that they're adopted, and so it's very unfortunate that it's the shoe when the shoe is on the other foot. It's almost like you're the babysitter or you've kidnapped this child. This child has to be in distress because there's no way that an African American family would have a white child. And so, yes, we've had the police called on us. We've been approached in restaurants claiming that we've kidnapped him, and so it's definitely been with challenges. And we face them, and we are trying to change the narrative and bridge gaps.
Well, Dr. Kia, I'm so grateful to have you here. I hope that you stick around because we're going to talk to
Okay.
we're going to talk to future Dr. Carmichael, and we're also going to bring in Levelle Moton to talk about, continue this conversation about mental health. And I'd love to keep you on. So stick around and we'll be right back with you. Okay.
Okay, definitely. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Key has been on the show before, and we had to bring her back. She's such an incredible light and doing such amazing work. I want to go to our next guest, who I always love to talk to, future Dr. Christal Carmichael. She's actually a former Miss NCCU from NCCU, of course, and she is a psychotherapist and also a coach. Let's bring her in. Is that Miss NCCU?
Dr. Brown, how are you?
How you doing? And congratulations, you just been accepted to the Arizona State, is the University State, right? And Arizona State doctoral program.
Absolutely.
Congratulations to that, future
Thank
Dr.
you.
Carmichael. I'm grateful to have you back on. I can't wait to have you and Dr. Kia on at the same time to kind of talk about what you guys do in this kind of conversation, and bring Levelle in to talk about how it impacts men of color. All of that. I love to have that conversation with y'all.
Lovely.
What is the latest with you?
So I'm just excited to be starting my doctoral program. Of course, NCCU is my pride and joy. Always excited to talk to my fellow Eagles and give back. Right now in this COVID environment, it's just really important for us to understand how we are impacted by the things that are going on and how important it is to care for ourselves and care for our mental health. So that's pretty much my message these days, making sure that what we're experiencing, we're not alone in it, and to make sure that we eliminate the stigma about mental health, care for ourselves, and care for each other.
About the stigma, what do you say to people who are maybe afraid or I guess hesitant to step into a counseling situation or even admit that they actually need support?
I think that you have to change the way you view your mental health, because we do spend a lot of time, energy, and even money trying to care for things that other people see on the outside. But when you talk about your mental health, it's not one of those things that you pay as close attention to. And a lot of times it takes a very tragic event for us to even have the conversation about mental health. And so what I want to encourage people to do is to start there. Like, we're always giving and giving and giving, particularly as women, as African American women and men. We tend to want to pour, and you can't pour from an empty cup. So pay attention to what's going on within, so that when you do pour, it's something of substance, it's something that can be received by people in a healthy way, so that we don't give so much of ourselves that we just end up empty.
What are some telltale signs that people in our lives, or even myself, that we need some kind of support outside of what we're used to?
Some telltale signs, I would say, pay attention to your eating habits, your sleeping habits. Some of us tend to isolate ourselves, and we're like, super irritable, and we're like, I just don't feel like being around people. And that's okay some days, but when it turns into 3 and 4 days, 5 days, weeks and months, and you're just completely isolating yourself, and you don't have the patience to deal with anyone outside of yourself, then it's time to really start to evaluate why you are experiencing those things. Some of us tend to blame our work schedule and the fact that, we're in this COVID situation and we're doing homeschooling, we're trying to be spouses, we're trying to take care of everything at home, and we're trying to work. Some of us are trying to go to school. And so we tend to blame all of that on the reason that we're not eating or the reason that we're not sleeping. But truth be told, if you want to excel in each of those areas, you have to eat properly. You have to sleep properly. And when you don't, then it impacts the way that you function. And so I try to tell people all the time that not getting proper sleep is equates to the same level of danger if you are driving impaired or functioning impaired, walking on the street impaired, same type of thing. So if you're not sleeping properly, you're not giving your body what it needs, then you are actually putting yourself in a very dangerous situation.
Thank you for that, Christal. That was a lot. Thank you for that. Those insights. On a lighter note, per se, how did NCCU find you?
Yeah, I can't say enough about NCCU. So I started visiting North Carolina Central as a very young girl. My sister went there. And so when I was in middle school, I was going to North Carolina Central, and she would take me to the student union and to the football games. And I just fell in love with it. She even took me to the coronation. The very first time I was able to see what Miss North Carolina Central University looked like. And from that point on, I was in the 8th grade. I said, you know what? I'm going to be Miss North Carolina Central University. And I didn't even question. I didn't want to go to any other school. I didn't even apply to any other schools for undergrad or graduate school. North Carolina Central was where I wanted to be. I applied and got in, and the rest is history.
Come on, went to see a coronation, and then in 2003 had your own coronation.
Absolutely.
Incredible. All right. Christal Carmichael, future Dr. Christal Carmichael, we're going to have you in a couple minutes after we talk to Levelle Moton, bring y'all all back to continue this conversation about mental health. I think it's an important conversation. I also want to bring in the election and how we can be, thinking about, how we vote and what we should be thinking about during that time. So I hope that you'll stick around with us, Christal.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
All right, Christal, we'll be right back with Christal Carmichael. So grateful for her and Dr. Kian. We before we bring on Levelle Moton, who is waiting, we have a special message from somebody special from him. Check it out.
How you doing, Eagle fans? It's Nimrod Hilliard IV. I was your point guard in 2015. I'm currently playing my 6th season professionally overseas. I'm currently playing in Germany this year. And I couldn't miss the opportunity to get on here and thank Coach Moton for everything he's done for me. I transferred there after my junior year to finish my senior year out there at NCCU, and it's changed my life. Coach has changed my life in ways I couldn't even tell you, on and off the court. And I just wanted to get on this message and say thank you, Coach. I appreciate everything you've done and bringing me to the jungle. Thank you.
All right. That was Nimrod Hilliard. And this is Mr. Levelle Moton, head coach of the NCCU men's basketball team. Good evening, sir.
What's up, man? How you doing?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm blessed, man. I can't complain.
What does that sound like? Nimrod is one of your former team folks and doing well, just like you. Left the university, went pro overseas, and then now is bringing you those kind of greetings. How's that make you feel?
Man, that's what it's all about. It's why you do it. I was both a teacher and a coach, and what I discovered from being a teacher and a coach is that they're both thankless jobs, right? Outside of our family, the people that have probably inspired us the most in our lives or impacted our lives the most is probably a teacher or a coach. And I always said this is really weird because your favorite teacher of all time probably don't even know that she was your favorite teacher or he was your favorite teacher, right? So to hear sentiments like that, man, it inspires you and it lets you know job well done, and that's what it's about, reaching and connecting with young folks.
He's a trooper. It's 2:00 in the morning in Germany right now, Coach. You know that.
Yeah, he ain't doing. He on social media all night. He young boy, he go all night. So it's all good for him.
Well, look, 3-time MEAC regular season champions, 4-time MEAC tournament champion, and MEAC Coach of the Year in 2017. Well, before I ask that, people say, why are you still here? Are you staying? Isn't it the pinnacle to be able to play for a team and then come back and coach the team and win? Like, isn't that the best thing?
It's really special, man. A lot of people don't understand the impact of that. They don't understand the luxury of that. It's already a small fraternity for Division I coaches. There's only 350 of us in the world. And I think it's probably 7 or 8 that's currently coaching at their alma maters, man. So it's not just a program. It's not just an institution. It's not just a job. It's deeply personal to me. So that's why I wear my heart on my sleeve, and hopefully, the fan base can always see that passion when it's displayed because it's truly personal for me.
We saw you vocal in the aftermath of George Floyd and other things that have happened recently, really a call to action to other coaches and people around the nation. How was that for you, and what had you speak out in that way?
You know what? The crazy thing is I've always spoken about that. It was just, I guess, it was the perfect storm. You look back at my previous interviews, I've always said that. I've always felt that way. Because again, I was a teacher, and I do understand the impact of these young men that and I've been on both sides. I was a basketball player too, so I understand the impact and how it affects the vocation and the life and the generational wealth for people like me and people that's coaches that don't look like me. And I'm a truth teller. I just shoot from the hip. And I'm a Gemini, so it's kind of one of those things, man. And I just saw for so long that, they love our rhythm, but they don't love our blues, right? And they love to imitate everything that we do. And I know you're seeing everything that we're doing within our culture because, all the TikTok dances, the lyrics to the latest songs. We got people that don't look like us twerking now and is spitting Cardi B lyrics and all of the above. But when someone that look like us get killed in the middle of the street, everybody's silent. And I'm like, true change in this country has always come from other people that didn't look like us advocating on our behalf. Because if we could have solved these systemic issues by ourselves, we would have done that 400 years ago, right? So I don't know if I should say calling out coaches, but I just said what I said, and I called them out. I said to say, let's stand up for these kids the way we've always asked these kids to stand up for us, right? Because when we go on our summer vacations and get on these yachts and these boats and call it a vacation, they go back to the hood, and it's reality for them, right? And so I just needed all my fellow coaches to step up on their behalf, because when we sit on these kids' sofas, we say we're going to be their second fathers and we're always going to be there for them. And anybody can talk that, and that's just lip service. But, you know, during these adverse times, what happens then? So that was my point.
Levelle, how did NCCU find you?
Man, that's a great question. You know, I didn't know much about North Carolina Central, in all honesty. I was heavily recruited coming out of high school. In my final 3 schools, one was a Big Ten school and 2 were ACC schools. And I went to Enloe High School. And North Carolina Central was always at my games, but they were recruiting another guy on my team by the name of Cameron Hunter. And I waited to June to commit to a school. I don't want to call the school out, but June of my senior year, that's how late it was. And after I committed, maybe a week later, the coach called me and said he's going to retire, so he's not going to see it through. And so I was stuck. You know, I went from being this elite basketball player in the country to now I don't even have a school. And a lady by the name of Maxine Wall, who's my godmother, she worked at Enloe High School. She said, you should look at North Carolina Central. And I was like, that's the school that got in a fight with A&T, because I just remember a violent brawl on TV. And she said, yeah, but it's bigger than that. You got to look at it. And long story short, the head coach came to my apartment. He sat down with my mom and I and said, look, I never recruited you because I never thought I had a chance to get you. But if you want to come to North Carolina Central, I would love to have you. And this was back in the days when you could have a scholarship paper in your back pocket. So he pulled it out. And I just remember looking at my mom, and she said, I just don't want you to be in these projects anymore, right? Because in 40 years of our project existing, only 4 kids went to college. And so I signed a scholarship to attend North Carolina Central sight unseen. I had never seen the college, right? And I just remember like, yo, that's the dumbest thing I've ever done. I just remember praying to God saying, please let me like this school, and the rest is history.
Come on, NCCU always coming through. Levelle, first of all, the chat is blowing all the way up. I mean, they're saying it's Moton for me. You know, you know, that's my coach. Come on, of course you're getting all the love. Well, I do see a Miss NCCU in there. We're gonna bring him back in. How does it feel to just be on a upward trajectory right now? Just up, like I don't even see the NCCU. And this is the thing. I was student body president. We got Miss NCCU on here. Some of us bleed maroon, no matter if we're winning or not. But it's so extra, icing on the cake, to bleed maroon and then have winning success and national recognition. But it never seems to phase you. How do you do it?
Because it's bigger than me, right? It's bigger than me. And, you know, the reality is there's never been any roller coaster rides. There's never been any high highs and low lows. And I've always tried to balance it out. So the reality is I've won a championship on every level since I was like 5 or 6 years old. So winning a championship is good, but you understand that it's something bigger and greater. My goal is to make sure North Carolina Central is the first HBCU in the Sweet 16. When I was hired in 2009, I said, look, I have a short resume. I ain't got a lot to offer you, but if you hire me, we'll graduate these kids. We'll win me at championship in 5 years. We'll be the ACC school, and we'll go to the Sweet 16. And we've done all of the above except for go to the Sweet 16. At the time, it sounded crazy. It sounded impossible. And I'm used to that. Again, I'm from a place where you have to be your own biggest cheerleader anyway, because society looks at you like you're an outcast or a misfit anyway. So you have to believe in yourself before you can convince others to believe. And it's my pride and joy because we found out and discovered the power of national television. And so when you win and you go to the NCAA tournament, the acronym was NCCU when I started in 2009. Now everyone says NC Central. And I think that's because we've branded ourselves nationally. And a large part of that is because of that NCAA tournament and the notoriety that it brings.
I still see NCCU, but I support whatever y'all do. There it is. I want to keep on that topic actually, and I'm going to bring in Dr. Kian Jones Baldwin and also future Dr. Christal Carmichael. Hello, ladies, and please meet Coach Moton.
Hey, lady. How y'all doing?
Coach, you did an interview and you talked about where you were from, and you pointed out staying with your grandma a lot and how the environment was, there was a lot of stuff happening in the projects and things of that nature. But at the end, you said it was actually still a nice place. It was still a great place to be. Can you speak to that? And then we're going to talk to the ladies about mental health and that kind of like environment for young men of color and how we balance that and still turn out okay.
Yeah, it was the housing projects, and you couple that with it was the inception of the crack epidemic era, right? And so you're living in that, as a kid, and so you're forced to make some decisions that have your back against the wall, and it's not because you want to, but it's out of sheer desperation. And sometimes people take a left, and sometimes people go down the wrong path. But I was fortunate because I think God gave me a vision beyond my present set of circumstances. So I was able to see something, that was kind of bigger and stayed tuned to that. I tell people all the time, the risk that I had to take was to continue to be myself when the world was constantly telling me I should be someone else. And so you got to go through to get through, and you gotta get through to get to. And once you make it out of that, you look back and you realize that even though those lessons didn't feel good, and it was a dark and adverse time, and it made you stronger, and it taught you humility, and it taught you respect and the core values that you tend to take manhood. It carries over into being a husband, a father, a coach, a son, a brother. So I have a strong foundation because I had a strong adverse situation that I had to overcome.
Dr. Kia, what's your response to that, and how do you talk to your children about what's happening in the world?
Well, sometimes contrary to popular belief, I think that despite wherever you live demographically, you tend to do well as long as you see other people behind you, supporting you and encouraging you. You don't have to live in the suburbs to become successful. And so, it definitely speaks to the support system that was in place for him, as well as him having his own self-motivating factors, because you are your biggest cheerleader, like I heard him say earlier. And if you can't cheer on yourself, then no one may not ever do it for you. So you're going to have to learn how to be your biggest motivator. Now, my children, of course, I raise cultures, and so I do have a Caucasian child, and I do have 2 biracial children and an African American child. And so sometimes it's difficult. My Caucasian son is 3, so he really don't understand. But I'm not going to never stop being Black. I'm unapologetically who I am, and I definitely teach my biracial children, because in America they view them as African American. They don't look at them as biracial. And so I have to teach them the same way that I teach my African American daughter. Hey, we live in a society that may not like you solely based on the color of your skin, but you're gonna have to love yourself. I'm hoping that I've been a great role model to them. My girls are both 17 years old. They're coming Friday to do a tour of Central, so I'm hoping that at least one of them, follow in mom's footsteps and go to NCCU. But I definitely understand, especially being the wife of a police officer who is sometimes questioned, why are you in law enforcement? You're an African American male. You're gonna stand with the blue line. My husband is Black first. And so he definitely understands that in order to change the narrative and bridge gaps, we have to have seats at the important tables, if not creating them ourselves. We have to get out there and be at the school board meetings. We have to be at the table when they're talking to the police officer about defunding or police brutality or training. We have to be in those places. So representation matters, and that's the way that we're going to change things, is being representative in those areas.
Yeah. Christal, what's your response? And what are your thoughts on, well, I'm gonna ask, what's your thoughts on this? Respond, I got another question.
Respond?
Yeah, what's your response on Levelle's story and what you're seeing in your practice?
Yeah, so I think African American males have such a there's such a huge expectation for African American males, and they are um, the pillar of the African American family, whether we want to acknowledge that or not. And most of the time, we see African American males not wanting to express emotions or show that sensitive side of them because it's seen as weak. And so, in the mental health profession, I think it's really important to embrace our African American males and let be a safe place for them to express their emotion and care for their own mental health. I mean, again, you can't pour from an empty cup. And we look at African American males to be so much. And once they have given, and then nobody's giving back to them, it takes a toll on your body, physically and mentally. And so I just think it's really important. And like Coach said, that support system, that's one of the number one determining factors in success. So if you don't have that, it's really important for us to be able to see when that doesn't exist and be able to provide it for our Black males.
Yeah.
Just with some context, there's a article that's out that says 13.4% of the U.S. population identifies as Black African American. Of those, 16% report having a mental illness in the past year. That's over 7 million people. That's more than populations of Chicago, Houston, and Philadelphia together, combined. I want to go back to Coach. As you are the men's basketball coach, what things do you guys have in place, or what kind of things do you see? What are you doing to support our young men as they are, number one, battling COVID and this whole quarantine situation, plus seeing images on a regular basis of Black men being murdered by police? What do you do?
I'm of the belief that, one thing COVID has done is expose leadership on all levels, and we're seeing that nationally. If you're a good leader, it's solid. If you're not, then it kind of falls apart. I'm of the belief that you have to prepare for situations such as these long before they ever happen. So ever since I became the coach at North Carolina Central, we've implemented plans of actions, being a former teacher myself, and also being someone who struggled with mental health all of his life. I just became vulnerable and opened myself up to let them know, look, this is what I go through. I see a therapist. I think it's the coolest thing in the world now. I look forward to seeing my therapist, right? Because in our household and in our community, that was thought about, look, you crazy. There's something wrong with you, if that's the case. And I just eliminated that. And a good friend of mine, David Banner, suggested that I go do it. And it's the best thing that ever happened. So we try to implement some things in place. We have a pastor, a teen chaplain, that, because I understand that these kids may not want to talk to me all the time, because when they come to practice, we're demanding their best effort. And sometimes they might not want to talk to coach. So I just try to provide them with different outlets. Every week, my assistant coaches are required to spend an hour with those kids and take them to lunch off the campus. And it's only one rule, and they're not allowed to talk about basketball unless the kids bring it up. So now we're really dipping into their personal life to see, what's really going on. And you'll be amazed, when you just drop the conversation of basketball and you get to know them and understand that he's moping because his girlfriend and him are having problems, or his grandmother's sick and he's concerned about her, whatever it may be. So they communicate those things back to me, and now I know how to coach him. And I think at the end of the day, that's how we keep a tally of what's going on within our program.
Dr. Kia, I'll let you respond. And if there's any last words that you'd like to say to young people, anyone who may think that they need some support, how to get it, and any advice that you might give.
Definitely. You know what? These are some very strange and trying times that we are trying to navigate. So, it's very unfortunate when people of color are still now just feeling like, I don't think that therapy is necessarily a good thing, or people do perceive that it's crazy if you go, and all of those things just need to be pushed out the window now, because we are definitely in times that we've never seen before. And so I've had a lot of flooding of calls to my office with high anxiety, depression. People are panicking because they don't want to wear the mask. And so, like Coach said, having the things in place to assist when our children or adults in our family don't want to necessarily talk to you, but they have an outlet to talk to someone else, is very important. For my children, I also have hotlines posted on my refrigerator. They're virtual learning now, and so I might be at work or on a Zoom call, and I can't get to them, but they can definitely call a suicidal hotline if they need to. We have to provide these things and make them normalized, so people aren't feeling away when they go to therapy, but it's celebrated. Just as you would call your primary care physician or your dentist, put your therapist in regular rotation as well.
Whew, come on, y'all preaching. Dr. Key already said therapy and Jesus, so we already know how she rolled. So, future Dr. Carmichael, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. That, like she said, making sure your therapist is in regular rotation. My children are very young right now, so I haven't even begun to have the conversation yet about just the state of society. But I know that day is coming, and I am preparing for it. But in the meantime, I just think it's healthy to be a support to the people around us so that we can function at our highest level. But I also think it's extremely important for us to take care of ourselves. We give and give and give and give and don't pay attention to ourselves. So I do think it's time for us to eliminate the stigma about mental health. We can no longer just say, oh, we just gonna pray this thing away. And prayer is beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. But like she said, Jesus in therapy, it's okay. So I think that the therapist needs to be something that's common in our families, and don't feel like you're alone in this, because mental health symptoms are really very much a lot more common than we would think.
Well, I'm going to leave it there, folks. I'm so grateful for this discussion. We went a little longer because I thought it was an important conversation on mental health with these professionals and this professional, Brother Moton. I'm so grateful to have all of you guys here. We have Levelle Moton, head coach of the NCCU men's basketball team. Christal Carmichael, future Dr. Christal Carmichael, is a psychotherapist and a speaker. And then we have Dr. Kian Jones Baldwin, who is an incredible therapist as well. We're excited about your contribution. And how about all of us all went on the sloping hills and inverted green of North Carolina Central University and all show up on this call right here doing what we do? How about that?
None other.
Yes, all amen. Right.
Well, remember, guys, an eagle is no common, ordinary barnyard fowl. If you haven't yet joined the NCCU Alumni Association, go to nccualumni.org and give a recurring gift to the university so they can make some things happen. Go to eaglesgive.com. Thank you guys for joining us, all y'all amazing alums. Y'all take care, and we will see you next week. Take care, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.